who is going to be the vice president of the United States of America. Who might it be? There are 7 names that are being discussed. We'll go through the 7, but I actually have it down to, I think, about 2 or 3. Probably 2. Let's take a look. I think we've got Bret Baier talking with the Fox reporter, my former colleague, actually, talking with the former president about who he might pick. And Donald Trump told him months ago, you know what? I know who it is. I know who it is. Let's listen.
Who would be in the running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that, really. I mean, I know who it's going to be.
Give us a hint.
We'll do another show sometime.
Well, what about any of the people who you've run against? Would you be open to mending fences with any of them?
I will. I've already started like Christie better.
So he knows. And then Bret decided to go back at him in this little one-on-one like a week later and said, okay, so you know who it is. Can you give us a hint? And this was actually a really important hint. I want you to hear this. And I'm going to explain a little bit more on this. But listen to what he says here, because this is really important. And it helps color and affect who ultimately is going to get the gig. Watch.
You said in our town hall that you had an idea, or you might have already decided about your VP pick. When do you think you're going to make that?
Well, it's never really had that much of an effect on an election, which is an amazing thing. Both election and primary, it's never really had much of an effect. I may or may not release something over the next couple of months. There's no rush to that. It won't have any impact at all. The person that I think I like is a very good person, pretty standard. I think people won't be that surprised. But I would say there's probably a 25% chance it would be that person.
Is Senator Tim Scott on the list now?
No, he's a great guy. You know, he endorsed me. There's an example. Nikki comes from South Carolina. Tim Scott is from South Carolina. But if you look, the governor, great governor, another senator, Lindsay, we happen to like Lindsay. But Henry McMaster knows her very well. He endorsed me. It's very hard for a governor to endorse somebody when you have, Henry McMaster was the lieutenant governor under her, and he endorsed me, and he's going to be here tonight. In 15 minutes, you're going to be watching him speak. I'm going to introduce him. He's a great guy. He's done a great job. So everybody, almost everybody in South Carolina has endorsed me. What is that?
Everyone in South Carolina has addressed me. So, Nikki, take that. I have a feeling it's not going to be Nikki. Anyway, there's 7 people on the list. We can go through some of the names. They are some that you might expect, of course. Look, you've got Byron Donalds, right? We love Byron. We love Byron on this show. And I'm going to share some clips with you of Byron a little bit later, because he's under fire for some stuff that is just a non-event. But he's so strong. He's out there pushing back and saying what needs to be said. And I think he has a huge, huge future. So Byron is one of the people that is being vetted. The other person would be someone that you probably have never heard of. This would be the governor of, I'm like North Dakota, South Dakota, I believe it's North Dakota. Okay. So it's Doug Burgum, and he's a businessman. He is a Trump supporter. He's the governor out there. And there's a real shot. There's a lot of people within the campaign, close to the campaign, that think it will be Doug. Now, if you listened to what the former president just told Bret, he said it's going to be someone who doesn't really, it's not going to be like a shocker. It's not going to be someone who commands a ton of attention. His view on this is that there's one star, right? You go one star and one star only, and that is the president. It's why I said back in 2016, he's going to pick Pence. Pence is the guy, because Pence was sort of like, a little bit shorter than him, kind of like a little, not big personality, a little personality, dare I say, all those things that I think had appeal to Trump at the time, and, came from a state that was indeed very helpful. So there was a lot of reason for him to go with Pence. So Doug could be a version, if you would, of Pence in this sort of time. I mean, I like J.D. Vance. You guys know that. J.D. Vance, I think, brings a certain je ne sais quoi. in that he's got the personality to kind of light up a room, and he can help with the Midwest. Now, you don't want tons and tons of personality. I get it. You know, it's Trump. It's why Tucker is not going to be there. It's why you're not going to have Vivek Ramaswamy as much as you guys like him. But JD Vance, I think, could be very, very real. And he is being vetted right now. Some other interesting names that you might not have expected. Tom Cotton is on the list, and he's being vetted as we speak. So that's somewhat interesting. And I think, Drew, we have some betting odds, right? Some new betting odds that have come in. So this is the market, if you would, for who's going to be the vice president, who's going to be the president. And, you know, it's always fun to watch this stuff because when people put money on the line, it kind of has a little bit more of a, a little bit more of a backing to it. Drew, if you have those betting odds, let's show them right now to people because it's interesting in terms of understanding what the market wants. Look, I think Christie's out. I think Elise Stefanik, she's back in. Elise Stefanik, those of you that like the representative from New York, remember this is the woman that took down the president of Harvard University, got her effectively outed, right? She's now just a professor. She still kept a job somehow. I guess tenure really matters. But she's no longer Claudine Gay, someone I went to high school with, actually. She was much older. But Claudine Gay is no longer at Harvard University, thanks to none other than Representative Elise Stefanik. So Elise Stefanik is on the list right now. Elise Stefanik, ladies and gentlemen. So as we look at these names, as we look at these people here, it's kind of interesting. It's not the flashy sort of, people were talking, oh, could it be Tucker Carlson? And I said all along, you know what? It's not going to be Tucker Carlson. I can tell you it's not going to be Tucker Carlson because I know as a television person, you know what? There's only one primetime star. And for Tucker, that's Tucker. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right? He's the star. And for Donald Trump, it's Donald Trump. He's the star. So you're not going to get these massive, big personalities. Stefanik is in there. Ben Carson, ladies and gentlemen, he's another one that's being vetted. And Tim Scott. But this is what I want to tell you. You don't have people that are going to just say, okay, we're going to go with this one or that one just because they fit a certain demographic. That's not actually the way Trump operates. No. If Tim Scott gets it, it's not because he's black. It's because Donald Trump thinks this is the guy that's going to help deliver me to the finish line. If Ben Carson gets it, it's because this is who he wants to work with. Oddly, Haley's in there. I don't believe she's being vetted. And I think she's probably already been vetted. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, the same with Tom Cotton, right? You don't get that far in politics without having a certain amount of vetting going on. But Byron Donalds is being vetted. And Stefanik's being vetted. Tom Cotton, JD Vance, Doug, Byron. Am I missing anyone? Am I missing anyone here? I don't think it's going to be Nikki. I'm just saying, there's no way after everything that's happened. I mean, never Nikki is an expression now for a reason. The president has been very clear that he's willing to kind of open things up. I can also tell you it's not going to be Ron DeSantis. It's just not. It's just not going to be. I mean, these are the betting odds. Take a look. Again, looking at these right now, some people are still in the viewpoint that it's going to be Haley. So I hate to burst your bubble. It's not going to be Nikki Haley. And it's probably not going to be Elise Stefanik. The reason I don't think it's going to be Elise Stefanik is she's very young. And while she's very accomplished, I don't think he's going to see her as really VP material. Again, as I look at this list, I think JD Vance, they don't have Doug on here. Doug is way up there though, guys. He's being vetted as we speak. So Byron, Doug, JD, Tom Cotton, Ben Carson, Stefanik. That's your 7. Okay. So the betting odds, they need to rework their markets there. Actually that's 6. 6. So maybe you could throw Nikki in there as a 7th, possibly Tulsi. I don't think though. I actually think that they're long shots. I think if you really want to boil this down here, I'm going to tell you the top 3 names. Tom Cotton is probably up there, JD Vance and Doug. I'm going to tell you why Byron's not going to be as high as someone like him. And I'm sorry because I know you all love Byron. I love Byron too. He comes on the show Drew is very good friends with him, actually. He's awesome. Like, he's just awesome. He understands the economy. Imagine that. Somebody in Congress. He blew me away. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think you're the first representative that I ever spoke to that actually understands how the Federal Reserve works. But he's a former financial advisor. So Byron's really talented. But here's the deal. He comes from Florida. Ann Coulter had a big piece on this just about 2 weeks ago in Breitbart, and she was looking at the law, and the way the law stands, there's an amendment in the Constitution that actually will not provide for this. You cannot have two people from the exact same state, because then you would be forfeiting all of those votes, and you know Trump's not going to forfeit Florida. So he's from Florida. He can't actually bring someone in from Florida, but I suspect they're vetting Byron anyway, because he might be there for another position, right? He could still have a very big position in the next administration. And I think that Donald Trump would want him on his side. What am I saying? The seventh is probably, you know who it is? It's Scott. It's Tim Scott. I'm seeing in your commentary, you're getting nervous. And the idea of Nikki is making you nervous. I know. So Byron, Doug, JD, Tom Cotton, Ben Carson, Elise Stefanik, and Tim Scott. So there you go. Those are the 7 that are being vetted in this moment in time, according to my intel. So again, according to my intel, the ones you want to sort of focus on are JD, possibly Tom Cotton, and Doug. What do you think? Of those 3, any preferences, any which way or another? Leave me a comment. If you're watching this live, you can join the chat. I'm looking at these in real time, or just send me a message there below. Reminder, subscribe. It's really, really important. Subscribe, hit the bell, like, share, all that good stuff. But we're getting into a range now where he's going to have to pick someone pretty quickly. And I think that you'll be happy. Let me just say that. I don't think you'll be disappointed with his pick. So that's the good news.